Mardi Gras, your news update, and more Bears boo-boo on this edition of State of the Bands Weekend, starting right now. Hello and welcome to Arbitrage, State of the Bands Weekend for March 5th, 2022. I'm Joshua Stark. The harsh sanctions imposed on Russia and the resulting crash of the ruble have the Kremlin scrambling to keep the country's economy running. For Vladimir Putin, that means finding workarounds to the Western economic blockade, even as his forces continue to invade Ukraine. Former Treasury Department officials and sanctions experts expect Russia to try to mitigate the impact of the financial penalties by relying on energy sales and leaning on the country's reserves in gold and Chinese currency. Putin is also expected to move funds through smaller banks and accounts of elite families not covered by the sanctions, deal in cryptocurrency, and rely on Russia's relationship with China. More on that story later in the program. It's a globalized world, a planet stitched together by intricate supply chains, banking, sports, and countless other threads of deep connection. Until it isn't. Exhibit A, Russia this week, abruptly cut off from the larger world on multiple fronts. Its ability to bank internationally has been curtailed. Its participation in major international sports is crumbling. Its planes are restricted over Europe. Its vodka may no longer be welcome in multiple U.S. states. Even Switzerland, whose very name is shorthand for neutrality, is carefully turning its back on Vladimir Putin. In barely 3 days, Russia has become an international outcast because of its invasion of Ukraine, and its leader is finding himself with fewer and fewer foreign friends. What's more, the actions against Moscow are happening in diverse, far-reaching ways that are remarkable for, and in some cases helped along by, the extremely connected world in which we live. General Motors said Monday that Kyle Vogt would take over as CEO of its Cruise autonomous vehicle subsidiary, a company he helped found in 2013. A GM representative confirmed that Vogt posted on Twitter that he had once again accepted the job as CEO of Cruise. He replaces Dan Ammann. The Detroit automaker announced in December that Ammann was leaving the company to be replaced by Vaught as interim CEO at Cruise. Cruise is operating a small fleet of autonomous vehicles in San Francisco that it opened to the general public at the beginning of February. GM expects to get a permit to charge customers for autonomous rides this year. Hank the Tank is actually a 3-bear battalion. We reported earlier about Hank in South Lake Tahoe. DNA evidence now shows that the 500-pound black bear the public had nicknamed Hank the Tank is in fact 3 not-so-little bears who have damaged more than 30 properties around Lake Tahoe in recent months. The State Department of Fish and Wildlife on Thursday said that it will soon begin trapping bears in the South Lake Tahoe area to tag the animals and gather evidence for genetic analysis. The bears will be released in a suitable habitat, and the agency said no trapped animals will be euthanized as part of the project. The bears are responsible for more than 150 incident reports in the region, straddling Northern California and Nevada, including a break-in at a residence in the Tahoe Keys neighborhood last week. More after this on Arbitrage State of the Bands Weekend.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes 2. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese!
Followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad
This
Council.
week's State of the Bands blog includes Party Like It's Mardi Gras, the Russians are working on crypto, and Royce and I talk corporate greed. All this and more in this week's State of the Bands blog, available now at arbitragetrade.com. Now let's go to the Chief Executive Officer of Arbitrage, Mr. Royce Wells, for more. Royce, what is it that they say in New Orleans about this time of year?
Phenomena.
That's not it. No, something about letting the good times roll. Is that right?
Yeah, c'est les bon temps rouler.
Yeah.
Yep, let's let the good times roll. That's French.
And you're from New Orleans, so we
Yes.
have a New Orleans person here in the studio talking about Mardi Gras.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know Mardi Gras is definitely a religious holiday almost.
Well, it's especially special this year because it's been 2 years since the last real Mardi Gras, right?
COVID definitely messed up 2020 and 2021's Mardi Gras, so 2022 they're coming back with a vengeance.
Absolutely.
But a lot of people don't know that basically Mardi Gras did not start in New Orleans.
Where did it start?
I believe it started in Bogalusa, if I'm not mistaken.
I've been to Bogalusa.
Yeah, pretty nice. The first Mardi Gras, I think, was in the early 1700s.
Okay.
And basically, I don't think it got to New Orleans till like 1837 is where the parades and everything else that Mardi Gras is known for.
Plastic beads.
Yeah, beads and floats.
Hurricanes.
Hurricanes. Yeah, I guess that works too. But
the drink, not the storm. Sorry.
Yes, the drink, definitely not the storm. But
We don't want that at all.
Not at all. But Mardi Gras actually, Carnival season begins the day after the Epiphany, which if you're Catholic, that's basically like 12 days after Christmas. So basically there's an actual calendar that records when everything begins.
You know, I just found out flashing for beads, which is something I'm not going to do, by the way.
Thank God.
Goes back all the way to 1887.
Well, hey, some traditions should definitely be carried on.
I'm just saying, you know, the thing is that it's been around for a really, really long time. You know, and our grandparents and great grandparents were doing this thing for a very long time before we were born. Explain to me what a crew is.
It's basically people who are on floats. They're basically giving out the doubloons, the cups, the trinkets, from the parade. Yeah.
Well, from what I understand, they're like they're societies actually.
They're sort of like Masons. They basically they're like the crew of Bacchus, the crew of Endymion, the crew of Zulu, the crew like they're Nefertiti. They're definitely different societies in the city that basically throw balls and galas, and then they end it all by getting to Mardi Gras Day and basically going. Wow.
So we take a look at this, and there's a lot of tradition involved with Mardi Gras, not only in the United States but also in the Czech Republic, in Germany, in Italy, Mardi Grasso. They've got Giove de Grasso, which, forgive me on my Italian, I'm sorry, Fat Tuesday, of course.
Yes, definitely not sing-songy enough. Italian is very sing-songy.
More after this on Arbitrage State of the Bands.
Hi, we're the Goo Goo Dolls. We're fortunate that we can give our daughters everything they need to grow and learn. But not every child can focus on classes and play dates.
Nearly 13 million kids in the U.S. face hunger. That's 1 in 6. School lunch might be their only meal each day, and it's heartbreaking to imagine any child going to bed hungry. We're dreaming of a perfect day when kids can smile, play, and just be kids without worrying about where their next meal will come from. Feeding America is working to make that perfect day a reality.
Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste. That food is given to families and children in need. Being a kid should be about doing things that make an ordinary day extraordinary. Learning to play an instrument, building a sandcastle, hosting tea parties. Hunger should never be an obstacle to growing up.
You can help end childhood hunger in your community by visiting feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Election officials preparing for this year's midterms have yet another security concern to add to an already long list that includes death threats, disinformation, ransomware, and cyber attacks, threats from within. In a handful of states, authorities are investigating whether local officials directed or aided in suspected security breaches at their own election offices. At least some have expressed doubt about the 2020 presidential election, and information gleaned from breaches has surfaced in conspiracy theories. Putting them in positions of authority over elections is akin to putting an arsonist in charge of a fire department, said Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson, a Democrat and former law school dean who serves as Michigan's top elections official. Experts say insider threats have always been a concern, but previously the focus was mostly on what a volunteer poll worker or part-time employee could do to a polling place or county system, said Ryan Messias, who advises officials at the federal, state, and local levels on election security. Now the potential harm extends to the very foundation of democracy, conducting fair elections. Since 2020, the coordinated efforts to have threat actors run for office apply to be election officials and volunteer as a poll worker or observer should be treated as national security concerns, Messias said. The potential risks posed by insider attacks run from granting unauthorized access to sensitive information to planting malware within election systems. While insider threats are the hardest to guard against, Messias said measures are in place to recover from an attack. Most of the country relies on paper ballots filled out by hand or with the use of a voting machine, so there could be a paper record of each ballot cast. In addition, post-election checks are designed to identify potential manipulation or discrepancies in the vote. This year, voters in 25 states will elect their state's chief election official, and several races feature candidates who dispute the outcome of the 2020 presidential contest. Some voters will also decide who will run their local elections as the next county clerk. It's these local election offices that have experienced security breaches. In Mesa County, Colorado, authorities are investigating whether unauthorized people were granted access to county voting equipment. State officials began investigating after the county's voting system passwords appeared on a conservative website. Because each county has unique passwords maintained by the state, officials identified them as belonging to Mesa County. Tina Peters, clerk elected in 2018, then appeared at a cyber symposium hosted by Mike Lindell, the MyPillow CEO, who has sought to prove that voting systems were somehow manipulated to favor Democrats. At that event, a copy of Mesa County's election management system, which is used for designing ballots, configuring voting machines, and tallying results, was distributed. Experts have described the unauthorized release as serious, potentially providing a practice environment to probe for vulnerabilities. Peters, in an interview, said that she made the copy of a county voting system hard drive to preserve the evidence of how you get to the result of an election, who came in, who made changes, who did what.
Okay, so Sarah, I'm dropping you off at Emily's?
Yep.
And Josh, you're going to?
Soccer, Dad. Soccer practice.
Right. Oh, by the way, I just wanted to let you know when I pick you both up, I'll be wearing my short shorts.
What?
No!
Yep, and my dorky dad hat, and I'm gonna do my dad dance for all your friends. They'll love it!
Seriously? Why?
Because I like my short shorts. Of course, I could be talked out of it if you guys would just buckle up your seatbelts without giving me a hard time.
It's important to get your kids to buckle up for safety, no matter what it takes. And sometimes, all it takes is your parental powers of persuasion.
Okay, we're buckling up.
See, all buckled.
Good choice. I'll just have to do my dad dance at dinner time. What?
No!
Do what you have to make sure your kids are wearing their seatbelts, even on short drives. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. Visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup for more information.
Royce, looks like there's some trouble over in the Ukraine right now when it comes to Russia. I hear that you can go to the Ukraine right now and pick up a Russian tank and it'd be a complete tax write-off.
No, you just don't have to claim it on your taxes.
Awesome.
Because I'll take 3 tanks, a couple of rocket launchers, anything you find from the other army. Yeah, you can keep it, take it, sell it. You can eBay it. I'm not sure how well that will go, but you don't have to declare it.
Sounds great to me. But on the other side, Russia is feeling the pain of sanctions from the U.S., the EU, and Great Britain right now. The Western economic blockade is currently strangling the ruble, and seems to be having some impact on what they can do. So they're trying to find some workarounds, including crypto for one.
Well, I have always said, Josh, if you want widespread adoption of cryptocurrency, you have to have a catalyst, and this might be the catalyst for Russia. Basically, I saw their rubles, I think, crash over 62% in a day. And basically, that definitely left Putin scrambling, trying to find other ways to basically keep their economy going. So cryptocurrency became a very viable option. Bitcoin, Ethereum, wherever they could get it into, made it a very good choice and extreme choice and quick choice for a cutover.
Well, not only that, but they also have great stores of energy, which they've brought to the table, and as well as their ally China has tried to help them out as well. But crypto businessing, we've tried to strangle that as well, aggressively combating the public face of Russian-based crypto exchanges, trying to sanction them as well. SUEX and 25 affiliated cryptocurrency businesses have been blacklisted from the dollar financial system. So
yep, basically, if you try to hide, there's nowhere to hide. If you have to cut off their supply. So I will say it is good to have friends in high places, them being allied with China, and basically their gold and their country's gold reserves and Chinese currency. There are basically other avenues, if cryptocurrency does not work, for them to still be able to wage war and keep cash flowing.
Yeah, but it's hard for them to rely on China. It doesn't seem to be that China would be able to make up for the loss of U.S. and European business and the sanctions and all that. And it appears to be crippling. Appears to be crippling them as well, trying to catch up with everything that's going on.
Well, they say that a lot, that wars run on their stomach. Armies run on their stomachs. Well, right now I think it runs on gas. And that 30-year deal that they made with China might be enough to keep the tanks rolling.
Yeah, speaking of tanks, I need to go pick mine up.
Yeah, give me 2 while you're out there.
Here's the thing about that, and I don't enjoy war, but you gotta admire the Ukrainian spirit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Former Miss Ukraine out there fighting on the front lines, and it looks like the president is also gearing up to roll.
Yep, absolutely. This is all hands. It's all hands.
More after this on Arbitrage State of the Band's Weekend. Stick around.
No word in the English language is less convincing than probably.
Are you sure we should get matching tattoos on our first date?
Sure. We'll probably stay together.
Probably? It's been 23 minutes since I ate. I can probably swim.
You should wait 30 minutes.
Okay, now tell me what to do. Cannonball! Cramp! Oh, I have a cramp.
I can probably hit the green from here.
Probably.
Can I get a mulligan?
Ready to go?
Hey, are you sure you're okay to drive?
Yeah, I'm pretty sober. Yeah, I'm probably okay.
Probably okay isn't okay, especially when it comes to drinking and driving. If you're drinking, call a cab, a car, or a friend. Buzzed driving is drunk driving. A message brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Investors fund these picks on Winners and Losers ETF edition. This winner, up 16%, seeks to meet its investment objective by investing normally in natural gas futures contracts. It may also invest in swaps if the market for a specific futures contract experiences emergencies, disruptions, or a trading halt in situations where the sponsor deems it impractical or inadvisable to buy or sell futures contracts. ProShares Ultra Bloomberg Natural Gas, symbol BOIL, starts at $41.26 a share. Next, this winner, up 13%, seeks to meet its investment objective by investing under normal market conditions in any one of or combinations of financial instruments, including swap agreements, futures contracts, forward contracts, and option contracts based on WTI sweet light crude oil. ProShares Ultra Bloomberg Crude Oil, symbol UCO, starts at $157.02 a share. And this winner, up 10%, is designed to track the daily price movements of Brent crude oil. The investment objective is for the daily changes in percentage terms of its shares NAV to reflect the daily changes in percentage terms of the spot price of Brent crude oil, as measured by the daily changes in the price of the benchmark oil futures contract. United States Brent Oil Fund, symbol BNO, starts at $30.97 a share. Losers this week, down 30%. This loser invests at least 80% of its total assets in securities that comprise the fund's benchmark index. The index includes securities which may include depository receipts of Russian companies. A company is generally considered to be a Russian company if it is incorporated in Russia or is incorporated outside of Russia but has at least 50% of its revenues and related assets in Russia. Such companies may include medium capitalization companies. Van Eck Vectors Russia ETF, symbol RSX, starts at $6.63 a share. Next, at 8% down, this loser invests in swap agreements, futures contracts, short positions, and other financial instruments that, in combination, provide inverse or short leveraged exposure to the index equal to at least 80% of the fund's net assets. The index tracks the daily performance of foreign and domestic micro, small, and mid-capitalization companies. Direction Daily Junior Gold Miners Index Bear 2x shares, symbol JDST, starts at $8.76 a share. And last, at 6% down, this loser invests in swap agreements, futures contracts, short positions, or other financial instruments that in combination provide inverse or short leveraged exposure to the index equal to at least 80% of the fund's net assets. The index is a modified market capitalization weighted index comprised of publicly traded companies that operate globally in both developed and emerging markets and are involved primarily in mining for gold and, to a lesser extent, in mining for silver. Direction Daily Gold Miners Index Bear 2x shares, symbol DUST, starts at $14.29 a share. Winners and Losers is provided for informational purposes only and does not constitute advice in trading. Percentages and stock prices were current at time of recording. Arbitrage Trade Analytics is solely responsible for the content of this podcast, but you should seek the assistance of a licensed professional for investment advice.
To protect his home and family from disaster, Steve used courage, wisdom, and his camera phone.
That should do it.
Way to go, Steve! By simply taking digital pictures of his family's important documents, Steve can always have them stored safely online, no matter when disaster strikes. Learn other simple ways to protect your home and family before a natural disaster at ready.gov. That's ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
Jelly. Jelly adjective. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous, as in
Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Royce, there's no doubt that inflation is going up anywhere from housing to cars to food, and it doesn't seem to be stopping anytime soon. Democrats are saying that corporate greed is a major cause of rising prices.
That could be true. That could be true.
Well,
we can always combat that with eye gouges, and then,
there are name calling. There are a ton of factors involved in inflation. For one thing, we had this thing a couple of years back called COVID.
Oh, that still exists?
Well, it's around here somewhere.
I know there's a variant somewhere.
Yeah. So the debate right now is kind of dividing Democrats about pandemic profiteers and things of that sort. They're talking about trying to limit the complaining and limit the criticisms. Talking about oil and meat packing and that sort of thing. Biden's kind of stepped out of it just a little bit. But we see that it's far from the only cause of inflation. But corporate price gouging appears to be pushing costs higher than needed.
Yeah, it's against the law to gouge, right?
Doesn't seem to be anybody stopping anybody right now.
That's because it's not gouging. The Fed literally said, well, I will say the prices are rising quickly. They're calling it inflation. And basically they're saying it's costing us more to get this from there because these people over here are charging us more to make the product, so we have to raise the price accordingly. And basically a trickle-down effect is happening.
Exactly.
Right?
We have what we call a supply versus demand issue here. And when there's not supply, there's more demand.
Or when you limit supply, there's more demand.
There you go. You kind of have to figure that equation out.
Yep. Remember, we had coin shortage in the history of America. How do you have a coin shortage?
Yeah.
Beef shortage, chicken shortage,
bacon shortage.
Good
Lord, that was a horrible time.
Yeah, man. I don't even know.
TP shortage.
Yeah, right. All these different shortages, but basically
paper towels.
And think about the price of wood. When you have a TP shortage, people are like, hey, it takes wood to make paper, so basically all the price of building materials went up, which causes, of course, housing prices to go up because, once again, supply and demand.
Trickle down, right?
Yep. You're demanding to have a house, and they're saying if you want one built, it's going to cost this much. You'd be better off just buying.
Which, I've seen, and we've reported about these burned out hulks of houses going for $330,000 in the Boston area.
Yeah.
As a contractor's special, which is kind of funny. But we see prices going up everywhere, and I don't think it's done yet.
Oh no. And you have to also realize that the dollar itself, the World Bank is based on the dollar, so if the dollar is raising in value, that inflation is basically trying to catch up and keep up with the dollars. And in wartime, guess what? All countries flee to the dollar, which means, guess what? The dollar keeps on rising. And as long as times are scary, expect more inflation and a stronger dollar.
Yep. And we've got Powell saying now that he's thinking about a bigger hike in the Federal Reserve's benchmark short-term interest rate as well. So we'll keep an eye on that on Arbitrage State of the Bands weekend. So stick around with us. We'll see you on Monday.
Arbitrage Trade Analytics, LLC, is a privately held market research company. Arbitrage Trade Analytics, LLC, is solely responsible for the preparation and distribution of the content of this podcast. The opinions offered in this podcast are for informational purposes only and are not intended to be investment advice. Seek a duly licensed professional for investment advice. For more information about the informational research and services offered by Arbitrage Trade Analytics, LLC, please visit arbitrage